What's going on, y'all? AU and Big 16 here, back at it with another video for y'all. Alright, the NBA season has been weird, to say the least, but I do think it is good that multiple teams are being very competitive, and it shows that multiple teams have what it takes to win it all this year. It keeps the league entertaining, and this is probably the best the league has been in terms of competition in probably decades. But it is a bit weird to me how certain teams that came out last year with so much momentum and teams that came in with so much potential are starting off with such odd records and being kind of not bad but very underwhelming. I'm gonna start off with probably the easiest one to talk about on the list, the Golden State Warriors, because they're the defending NBA champs and Stephen Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. And they also have Klay Thompson back, and they have Jordan Poole, who they just gave $140 million to, and they have Andrew Wiggins, who they just give it back to as well, and they have Kevin Looney, who they extended. They shouldn't really be having much problem to start the season off, especially with Steve Kerr as their head coach, is one of the greatest coaches of all time. This is one of the worst starts in the Steve Kerr era. Like, it's insane. I mean, to be fair, they did have those rough stretches a couple years back when they first traded for D'Angelo Russell, but that was clearly a tanking thing, and Steph did get hurt. This time, this is a championship roster that's coming back fully healthy, and with some tweaks here and there, somewhat of a new roster because Gary Payton Jr. didn't come back and stuff like that. Damian Lee did not come back, but still, like, it's still the main core here. Like, they're expected to be excellent and stuff. But they could be on a little bit of a championship hangover and stuff like that. But I'm not too concerned about them, so that's why I'm going with them first. I'm gonna talk about other teams and other videos, but they're the easier ones to talk about because it's the Golden State Warriors. From the concerns that I necessarily have for them so far that I've watched is their defense has been pretty bad, and majority of the defenses that Golden State has had throughout their championship runs have been, their defense has been one of the main anchors. Everyone looks on their offense and their three-point shooting, but their defenses are usually what helps them in a lot of these games. Their ability to get these stops, with at least them getting these amazing transition offenses, to be able to shoot from the three-point line, get these quick transition layups, get to the free throw line, which allows guys like Draymond Green to flourish because you can focus on all these other shooters. So he's able to do his pass fake and be able to go in for a dunk. And I also feel like their offense is kind of stagnant right now. Klay Thompson isn't back to form yet. He's still somewhat lackluster on the offensive end, in my opinion. To be fair, he has gone through a lot of injuries and he's been out for a while. But last season he came back. He played about half the season. He did decent in the playoffs. Had a good conference finals and had a decent kind of underwhelming finals, but it was still good enough for them to win the title. I think Steph has been nerfing himself so much since the season has started. Now, granted, it's the beginning of the season. I'm not overreacting. I get it. It's the Golden State Warriors. It's still Stephen Curry. They literally just won their game the other day against Sacramento Kings. But Steph had to drop almost 50 for them to beat the Sacramento Kings. Now, granted, the Sacramento Kings are much better this year than they were last year. They are a competitive young team that has a fire in them. But still, Stephen Curry should not have to drop 40-plus points in order for you to barely escape with a win against the Sacramento Kings. And they almost didn't because Klay Thompson, a defensive specialist, by the way, he fouled Kevin Huerter on a three-pointer that would have sent him to overtime. Because Kevin Huerter's not missing 3 free throws like that. He's a sharpshooter. He hits majority of his shots. So I don't think it would have ended well in terms of that regulation. They still could have easily have gone into the overtime and won that. But I don't think it's a great sign seeing Stephen Curry have to do so much in order for you guys to sneak a win in against the Sacramento Kings, and now you're 4-7 of the year. So before that win, they were 3-7. They still have a lot of answers they still have a lot of questions that they need to answer because I feel like they need to get more veterans on the team. I understand they got Jordan Poole and Looney, and they got a young amount of guys that showed themselves pretty well in the playoffs last year, but I feel like they need more vets, more players that have been around the league for a lot more and understand the game a lot better in terms of throughout a long course season. They need more players like that, like Andre Iguodala, but not Andre Iguodala because he's not gonna provide you much at this point in this stage of his career. He doesn't really give you that much. I think them losing Gary Payton Jr. was a huge thing coming into this season. They really should have tried to re-sign him. But I get it. They needed to give Jordan Poole his money, and they needed to give Andrew Wiggins his money. I don't think Jordan Poole should have gotten such a large extension to me. That's just me personally. I feel like $140 million is a lot to give to a guy that literally hasn't really done anything. Now, granted, he does have the title, but Jordan Poole, like, yeah, he was a factor in that final series, but he did good in that Denver series. Then he disappeared for 2 whole rounds and then showed up somewhat in the Celtics series. But Steph really, to me, in my opinion, really carried them in that Celtics series. If Steph doesn't drop 40 the way he was in that series, nothing really happened. Now, granted, it's the finals, and obviously players like that gotta show up. But if you're gonna give a guy $140 million, you should be expecting him to be an all-star at least 3 times out of those couple of, like, 4 or 5 years you give him that deal for. So obviously this year isn't really so fair to say for him because Klay's still a heavy part of the offense and Draymond's still there, but and Poole's still somewhat coming off the bench. Coming into next season, you should really hope that he is an all-star because yeah, they did pay Wiggins, yeah, they did pay Looney, yeah, they did play Poole, but they haven't paid Draymond Green his money, and he's a huge factor to this team's offense. He's arguably the driving force of the entire thing besides Steph. Steph is obviously the Warriors, but Draymond's ability to play make and defend and rebound and push the place, he is really what drives their offense in terms of getting everybody set up. And he's their defensive anchor as well. And they haven't paid him. This arguably might be his last year being on the Warriors. And if they lose him, and you're telling me like the next few years you're going to rely on Jordan Poole, Andrew Wiggins, Kevin Looney, James Wiseman, who has not been playing good, by the way, as he's been in. James Wiseman has been very underwhelming. He hasn't been defending the rim properly. He hasn't been scoring the ball properly. He's been allowing a lot of offensive rebounds to the other team. That's something they also got to look into. So I highly recommend them getting another veteran center or a player that can rebound the ball and protect the rim for them, so that they don't have to put so much energy on Kevin Looney for him to possibly get hurt or injured. He gets banged up sometimes too. And I don't think Steph should be having to go through so much to get 40 points to beat the Sacramento Kings, because if he gets hurt, it's literally all over at that point. And Klay Thompson has to start to show up too as well. But to be fair to them, like, it's the beginning of the season. There's no point overreacting, but you're gonna overreact because these are the defending champs, and it's the Golden State Warriors. They're not meant to lose games like this, bro. But I think that they're going to be fine. I think throughout the season that they're going to get accustomed to everything. They're going to go on a really pretty big winning streak. They might even start now. They just won 1 game against Sacramento Kings. They might win 7, 8 straight. You never know. But there's too many good teams in the league right now for these guys to not immediately pay attention to what's going on and be more alert. They have to try to accomplish a lot more wins, be better defensively, improve right now. Because there's still Milwaukee, there's still the Phoenix Suns, like there's still the Dallas Mavericks. There's still teams in the league that are still really coming for them and are really hungry right now. So, but I expect them to be perfectly fine. I expect them to be one of the top 3 teams in the West, and it's the Golden State Warriors. They got Stephen Curry, he's one of the greatest shooters of all time, and they'll be perfectly fine. It's just interesting to think about them not being as great as they should be, but they'll be fine. They got Stephen Curry after all.